And so begins the training arc. Jake, what are we doing? Why are we here? Who are you? Who am
Why
I?
are we here? Why are we here? We just want to have fun conversations, man. I think anyone who tunes in hopefully is entertained, but also hopefully get some good informational things and just sort of community vibes, all that kind of stuff, man. That's kind of our goal with this, right? Authentic bodybuilding is going to be sort of our theme, our underlying thing here. So that's what we want to be, right? We're just two normal dudes who happen to be going down the PhD route. One of us is finished and one of us is a slacker. And we also are just big nerds, and we want to share the journey and all the good life lessons that come from everything and have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. You said you're a nerd and you're doing some PhD stuff. So tell me a little bit more about that. What are you doing?
Yeah, let's do that. Well, first, I guess we should maybe introduce ourselves, right? I'm Jake Remmert,
Yeah.
right? You are
Colby Sousa.
Colby Sousa. There we go. So for me, I'm doing my PhD currently. I'm in the midst of data collection for my dissertation at Florida Atlantic University under Dr. Mike Zordos, who, if anyone is listening to us, I'm sure they know who Dr. Zordos is, where my research is focusing on optimizing program design for hypertrophy, specifically dialing in how many sets you do in a given session. That's kind of the main thing. And we're using an auto-regulated model that I'm sure we'll talk about auto-regulation in one of these episodes that allows people to adjust their set numbers based on their performance and recovery. And then I'm also looking at the relationship between hypertrophy and things like soreness in the pump and all of those things. So that's what my research is focusing on. It's a lot of fun. It's very busy. We're about to jump into another group of subjects, data collection here very, very soon. And I'm a little stressed, but hey, that's what we signed up for, right? So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what I'm doing. My
Yeah.
friend Colby, let's talk about your stuff.
Yeah, so on education side of things, like Jake had said, just recently successfully defended my PhD. So it was nice to get that done. It's been, a long time coming with COVID and everything else. So I, was primarily looking at recovery and how it relates to resistance training. And specifically, we kind of looked at how we can look at different variables of resistance training and how that may influence, the way you construct your weekly setup or your microcycle of training, right? If we place, high volume sessions here, how does that affect your subsequent sessions? If we're strategic about that, can we maximize adaptations in some way? That was kind of the idea there. And then also looking at potential ways to improve recovery between the sessions, looking at active recovery in the form of light, low volume, power type sessions. So seeing like, hey, instead of taking a day off, or maybe instead of doing this hard day when you don't feel as recovered, maybe calling an audible, throwing in a session that's, a couple singles at 70%, moving with max intent. Does that actually help facilitate recovery? Does it make it worse? Is it beneficial? Should you spend your time doing that? That's kind of the ins and outs of what we looked at. So yeah, that was kind of the education side of things there. I did my work with Dr. Eric Helms. Of course, again, if you're listening to us, probably familiar with him too. Pretty knowledgeable guy. He's okay. He's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, phenomenal in all areas, knowledge, human being, everything. So yeah, it was phenomenal to be able to work with him and get that exposure. I also did my master's with Dr. Sordos, so that was cool. Working at FAU, go Owls. It was great time being there. That's how I kind of met Eric, and yeah, it was cool to just get the continued education kind of side of things. Like we'll talk about probably a lot is we like learning and we like growing, and it's something we wanted to pursue both academically and then just kind of for the rest of our lives. And that's what it's about, is just being passionate about something. For us, it's lifting weights and it's anime and video games, all these things, but specifically lifting weights and what that might mean. So yeah, outside of education stuff, what else are you into? You're doing a bodybuilding prep, aren't you?
We're doing bodybuilding prep. It's sort of the middle roughly of August right now as we're recording this, and I'm on track for some shows in like maybe the end of October if I'm ready. But if not, then we'll push it back a couple weeks. There's some stuff in November that we're planning on, so I'm kind of roughly 10, 12 weeks out, somewhere in there. It's been a surprisingly smooth ride, like a weirdly smooth ride so far. And I'm grateful for that. Don't get me wrong. But it's been interesting, and I've certainly, already gotten some good like life lessons out of it that I'm sure we'll explore. If not today, we'll do that soon. I'm sure those sorts of connections we can make between training and life, right? And everything we're doing in the gym. But I think the coolest thing about this prep is that I'm doing a case study for it. Partially because I'm in the PhD program, so I'm in the lab all the time anyway. We might as well take a bunch of measurements. I wanted to prep anyway. It just kind of works out. And it was also a good excuse for me to do a little bit of networking. And I teamed up with Dr. Eric Helms, Dr. Eric Trexler, and of course Dr. Zordos, my primary advisor, that we can all kind of do this thing together. And there's a lot. Dr. Pack as well is helping out with some stuff, and so we kind of got a really good team of guys together to make this thing as good as it can be, and it's going to be awesome. But man, is more than I thought it was going to be. The testing sessions are like 2.5, 3 hours, and I do it every 2 weeks. I get my blood drawn every 2 weeks. All this stuff for the whole prep, which is going to be 6 months roughly, and then the whole recovery period, which is until I'm back to normal. So indefinite, the timeline.
Open-ended for sure. Yeah.
Open-ended.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been awesome. And, I think it's reinforced a lot of the things that you and I have talked about previously, and that we want to talk about on this, whatever podcast, whatever we want to call this experience, of just taking that feeling of training, but not just lifting weights, right? Like training your mind, training your spirit in a way, right? Not to sound too out there, but it's also connected. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about contest prep is there is no other choice but to have all those things be so connected. Otherwise you're just going to crash and burn eventually, right?
Yeah.
So like having those things all at play and really reflecting about it a lot. Part of the case study is we're doing interviews. So part of like that's sort of forced reflection, not in a negative way, but it just I don't have an excuse.
Accountability. Yeah,
accountability, exactly. And it's just been really cool to see all of the really like spiritual lessons that you get out of something like this, right? Of doing something that's so difficult, something that you have to keep showing up for, sort of no matter how you feel to a certain extent, but then also really listening to your body and adjusting things as you go about like, we got to keep moving forward, but there's a lot of navigating along the way, which I think is, funny enough, a really big like through line of like both of our PhDs are like that, right? It's how do we navigate these things? How do we listen to our body while still moving forward towards this big overarching goal that we set on the front end? And that's how everything is. It's like one of the life's universal things, right? That's what grad school is. That's what relationships are. That's what animes are, right? So many of them are like that, right? So like it's a beautiful thing, man. And I think that if that doesn't encompass what we're trying to talk about here, then I don't know what does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was very well put. I would agree with all the sentiments, and it's just it's smiling so much just hearing about that, because it can be tough to have those kind of reflections, right? That honesty with yourself to know like, hey, like it's tough, or when things get tough, what do you do, right? And I think again, like you said, that's why we're doing this. We're putting giving you some tools, giving you some skills, some anecdotes, just options and routes, and things to be better equipped for when things don't go great, whether it is contest prep, whether it's training, whether it's life. Just kind of being like, hey, I've heard these two guys talk about it, and they gave me some really cool information, or they've been through it too. So like, I'm not alone, and also kind of have some way to step forward. And a lot of times we just need to step forward, no matter how big the step, small the step, whatever it is. So yeah, that's kind of what we're after in that sense. So while I have not been bodybuilding myself just yet, I do plan to compete in the future. So that's something I will, be able to share with you as well. But it's, again, seeing you do it, hearing you talk about it is making me more excited about it. And again, I feel more confident knowing like, hey, like it can be done. It's going to be tough, but knowing like if I ever get stuck or things, then I could just, reach out to you, be like, hey man, like this is what I'm feeling. What do I do? So this, again, it's like, again, and then we'll probably be sharing those experiences throughout the podcast, throughout the episodes, on social media, all those things. So again, we just kind of want to have an avenue for people to tag along and to share those experiences with, whether again you've been through it yourselves, plan to go through it, or just are interested to hear about it because you're like, that sounds pretty cool. What is this bodybuilding thing all about? What's this, research stuff all about? What's this anime stuff you guys talking about? So yeah, again, just kind of having these discussions and creating the opportunity for you to tag along and be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, and
100%.
you do the bodybuilding, and you also do some coaching. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, we both do, man. We're the
Yeah.
same person. How did this happen?
Wait, you have long
Um,
hair? No way.
what?
It's just so cool.
Uh, yeah, dude, coaching is great, man. I think that um, it's still so cool to me that that job exists at all, and it's so funny when I think about it too, because the whole reason I'm in a PhD program is because I wanted to be an online coach, and
Yep.
that was my original like. I was kind of lost, right? I felt like I was working a retail job that I hated. I felt like a dead end. I was making minimum wage. What do I do? And was getting really into lifting and saw people were doing this coaching thing, and I was like, man, that would be amazing. How do you do that? And was like, okay, well, you got to learn some stuff, right?
Yeah.
You get a personal training cert or whatever. Um, and then I'm like, well, how do you stand out? Because there's like 10 billion of these people on Instagram. And I started seeing, Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, Dr. Eric Helms, Dr. Lane Norton, all the, and it's like, oh, that's how you stand out. You get a PhD, which is hilarious, right? So um, even then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to school for 10 years so I can do this. And thank goodness I found out along the way that I like research. Otherwise it's like, that's not, that path doesn't make a ton of sense,
Yeah.
not that it, not that it can't work. It's just it's a lot more than what you need to get into it. But anyway, so it's just funny to think back on that process. But yeah, so I coach with primarily with the data driven strength guys. That's kind of the main thing. I've had a little bit of stuff just kind of on my own as well, but primarily with them. And man, it's awesome, dude. I love it so much, and it's cool that when I first joined up with those guys, it was very powerlifting focused, right? And since then, we've all kind of um, evolved, I guess, to where the powerlifting is still a huge focus, but now it's like everybody's welcome, right? So now we have, like, I've coached somebody to stage, right? So we have bodybuilders, we got um, just kind of sort of, I hate saying gen pop because that sounds derogatory, but just people who don't care about competing, but they still want to lift weights, they still want to get stronger, change their body composition, whatever. And I love that variety. You get to have such different conversations with different people, and that keeps it fresh, like on our end. It just keeps it, from having the same, like, all right, we're going to talk about temp selection again, which is fun, but not when you're doing that every day. So it's so fun, dude. And it really is like the corniest thing ever, and kind of the most anime thing ever. But like the best part is the friends you make along the way,
Naruto would be so proud right now.
you would be so proud. But it's true, right?
It
I'm
is,
sure you
yeah.
can relate to that, man. Like
100%.
that's my coach is a guy named Ryan Doris, who I'm sure some people have heard of, but some people probably haven't. He hasn't been as active on social media in the last several years, but his coaching style influenced me so much. Like I coach like him because of him, right? And I've added my own little flavors of, like, he's not a scientist. He's aware of all the stuff, but like, so I can have a slightly different perspective on some things or whatever, but 95% of it is just wisdom I learned from him, and some of my own stuff I picked up along the way since. But his whole thing is like, it's always about the person, man. Like empathy, emotional intelligence, relationship, that is number one. And I couldn't agree more. And I know you're very similar. And it's just, you can't help but become friends over time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's awesome, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, and to touch upon that last point, like you said, because we're in the science realm, we're involved with research. What some people might think is that, okay, they teach very sciencey, or they approach things with just science, and it's not dichotomous, right? It's not and or. It can be very much a spectrum. It's just, and I think, like you said, you're taking bits and pieces of what you're learning through the literature, through experiences with your own coach, with athletes, with people you meet across the street, everyone, right? There's something that you can integrate into how you coach, how you navigate those, your clients and all these problems that may arise as a coach. Because that's the thing, you're supposed to, address these things, because it's people, we're human beings. And I think a lot of people forget that we're not robots. We're not always in a control lab. We're not, we're not perfect, and life happens. And, that's where our job kind of comes in, where it's like, okay, life throws you these obstacles. and the athlete comes to you saying, here's what I got, here's what I'm working with, here's where I want to go, how do I do that? And then you start working, you start discussing trial and error, and then you eventually get to where you want to get. And like you said, that journey is the most important part, right? That whole training arc. See what I did there? Pretty good. It is kind of, you know, what it's all about, and it's where we get a lot of our, you know, inspiration from. That's where we're just excited to share more about that and what it looks like. So yeah, similar to Jake, I do some online coaching as well. I work with Strong by Science, and it's been, you know, a phenomenal opportunity to work alongside some of the, you know, the greatest minds in the industry, and to be, you know, associated with a group like that has been, you know, I'm super grateful, man. It's a great opportunity to just, you know, have some range, and like you said, work with a wide variety of clients, right? So we have people who are just starting off lifting, but maybe they want a bit more direction, or maybe some people who want to compete at some high levels, and somewhere in between as well. And like you said, it can be so variable, and that's where the excitement comes in. And that's where it's, you know, we really get to put our skills to the test. And not that we're, you know, want to be tested, but it's more of, cool, another opportunity to make connections, another opportunity to learn, to grow, to help someone along the way, which again is just kind of things that we really value, both as coaches, both as, you know, individuals, and just all that. So again, more things for you and I that we just relate so much on, and another reason why we wanted to get this thing started, because it's like, hey, we could talk about some really cool stuff. We really can. And a lot of the times, the stuff that we want to talk about, or the stuff that doesn't get talked about, is the stuff that needs to be talked about. And that's, again, kind of what we're after, right? So that's where the tagline of the authenticity and the authentic bodybuilding comes into play, where it's like, hey, sometimes life sucks. Sometimes it punches you really hard in the face. And a lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people don't show that. They're just like, hey, here's my highlight reel. Here's all the great things about bodybuilding. And yes, it's great. And yes, lifting weights is great, and all that. We agree. But what do you do when it's not? And if we're only showing these highlights, and you come and you face this wall, how do you navigate that? How do you know, move around it, climb over it, under it? What do you do? And I think that's where we want to be able to give people those skills, and give people that opportunity to be like, okay, let me take a breath. I've seen this wall before. I have a rough idea of what it might look like. Let me try this. Nope, didn't work. Let me try this. Or, you know, again, just being able to face these fears, face these walls, whatever it might look like, and just be like, okay, I can do this. Giving people the chance, kind of reaching out a hand, saying like, hey, you're not alone. We got you. Like, it's okay. You can do this. We believe in you. It might take some time. It might take some effort, but in the end, you're gonna grow. Right, and it might not be growth in the biceps, right? It might be, and we'll take that for sure. We love
Better
bicep
be.
growth. It's
Also,
okay.
I want both.
So yeah, and hey, so there will be times, of course, that we'll get both, but sometimes, you know, it might not be so, you know, prevalent. And that's the bicep growth. It's the mind growth. It's that spiritual growth. Again, those things that you're, like you said, you're experiencing right now, and those things are super valuable, because then that just, you grow as a human. And that every time you come into these new experiences, even if it's, you know, prep again, if it's competition again, whatever it is, you're coming at it in a whole new way, and usually it's better equipped. So yeah, that's kind of what we're after in that sense. And that's, you know, through all of our experiences and what we're you know, what we've been through and what we like to do, is kind of what we're planning to, you know, talk about. So
Yeah, man, very well said. I have two thoughts that I want to kind of piggyback on that. One
yeah.
is just emphasizing the points that you made about, like, this is it's the word holistic kind of feels cringy and clickbaity at this point. There's like a weird stigma with that word, but it's true, right? Like this is, it's about everything, dude. You know, it's not just about getting jacked and strong. That stuff's cool. It's physical health is awesome, but it's not just about that either, right? Mental health, all of this stuff, it's also intertwined. And I think that, like you said, not just doing the highlight reel thing, and like getting in there a little bit when stuff's not so, like, that's, in a weird way, like that's what's actually most helpful, like for me as a consumer of content, right? Like, I like seeing when people are struggling with something, because I need, like, I'm trying to build my toolbox also, right? Because I know I'm probably going to hit that issue at some point, and it's just good to kind of get an idea of what to do. And then also, like you said, and sort of my second sort of point is that experience really builds that, you know, when you come back and, like for me, this is my second attempted contest prep, right? I tried to do it back in 2019, 2020. Everything got canceled. I was 5 weeks out, you know, when the world shut down. And this time has been so much smoother, so much easier. And I think it's because of all these things that we're saying, the reflection, the being open, and being open to those lessons presenting themselves, right? And then being aware of like, oh, I see this connection to, between making it happen with getting my posing practice done when I really don't want to,
Mhm.
with how the parallel to, a relationship issue or something at work or whatever, right? And seeing how all those things play together. Um, Seeing how, like, man, when you just keep moving forward, even if it means some weeks you got to take a step sideways or a small step back so you can take a bigger step forward later or whatever, that eventually you really do make a lot of progress. You really do get there. um, I think that the visual that always comes to me with this, that I think is very on brand for what we're doing here, is it's like, spoilers for for Dragon Ball Z. If anyone hasn't watched Dragon Ball Z, I'm sorry. Here's
If
a
you're
spoiler.
watching it right now, just mute it.
Yeah,
Don't get
mute it.
spoiled.
But it's very, to me it feels like when Goku's fighting Frieza, right?
Mhm.
Like there's like this moment, for me I felt it in contest prep, but like you can feel this moment in a lot of areas of life where it's just hard, right? And you're getting really beat down, you're getting depleted, you're just like, my willpower's low, my energy's low, all this stuff. Goku's just getting it handed to him. And then there's this, like, in the show, Frieza kills Krillin, right? Is Goku's best friend, and he sees this happen, and he's just so beaten down already. And it's like this instant where now he has to make a choice. It's a breaking point, right? And it's sort of, I can just charge my way forward and try to rush, right? If he tried to attack Frieza, he would have gotten killed, and the whole show would be over,
Yeah.
right? Our hero is gone. Um, Even though in Dragon Ball they just wish him back to life, it's not that big of a deal, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
So like that's not gonna work. You can't just bulldoze your way through stuff. He could run away. That's an option, but then the show is still ending as Frieza wins, takes over the universe, right? So we can't do that either. And all he could really do was like just submit to that feeling and what's happening, and like this experience, and that's what made him turn into a Super Saiyan, and that's what let him win, right?
Mhm.
And like that I have literally felt that moment happen, and it's like you feel invincible, dude. It's so
Mhm.
cool. And like you only get that by going through something that's difficult and by being open to those feelings happening. And like for me, that's been such a powerful thing that's carried through not just this contest prep. Now it feels a lot easier, I think, in part because of that, but also just I'm older now, I'm more experienced tracking food, more experienced with all this stuff. But like that's been so helpful in this PhD program. There's been
Mhm.
times where like I I could have quit, right? There's certainly times where in grad school in general, almost everybody's going to have that thought of like, man, should I really be doing this? Do I really want this? Or relationships, man. Sometimes these long-term relationships, friendships, romantic, family, whatever, where there might be these moments where it's like, this sucks, dude. Like, is this worth it? Like, this is really hard, and you have to make that choice. It's sort of a breaking point there, and you got to decide: am I going to run away from this, just ditch it? Am I going to just be bullheaded and just keep doing my thing, and not be willing to change or accept anything, or am I going to be open to this sort of transformation that actually does hold the key to moving forward, even though it doesn't always feel like it, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, man, it's just, I don't know, random anime rambling and
It's not a ramble
cool,
at all. It's again,
cool stuff.
it makes so much sense, and it's such, again, kind of gives, it's why we're kind of naming it the training arc, right? And this
Yeah,
whole thing,
yeah,
because what if you haven't, just how you found out yet, we love anime, but it's, and I think one of the reasons why is because there are, like you said, there are times where the main characters, side characters, whatever it might be, they face these enemies, they face these walls, these issues, whatever it might be, where it is hard. They get beat up physically, mentally, anything, right? And they are posed with the option, okay, do I just say quit and the earth gets exploded, or I lose my friends, or maybe I just turn the other way and do something else. It might not be super drastic or whatever, but it's, you're faced with the choice. And in anime, a lot of times they choose the hard choice, and I think that's what's cool, is because it's not easy, but you get to see why they're choosing the hard choice, right? You see them go through that training arc where they're facing their weaknesses, they're facing some of their greatest fears, they're facing these things that when you think about it, it might make you just quiver, but oh no way, I couldn't do that. It's just like, nope, turn around, no thanks. But seeing them go through it and seeing what it means, seeing all that growth, it's inspiring, and it's something that's it's just heartwarming to see. You're like, okay, people can do hard things, and it's like,
Yep.
I can do hard things, right? And it's like, I think that's what's one thing that's like different about anime versus say like other content, like maybe more mainstream stuff. Is like it is animated, so sometimes it makes it more relatable because you're like, oh, that's not like Ryan Reynolds, that's Goku, right? It's just like,
Yep.
okay, I'm more closely related to Goku than I could say like maybe Ryan Reynolds in that sense. So it's like you could feel it a bit more. You have that connection, and it's like, yeah, like it's just, it makes you feel, man. It really does. And like you talked about, we want to feel. We want to feel the good. We want to feel the bad.
Yeah.
We want to feel it all because you need to feel it all in order to grow, in order to go Super Saiyan, in order to step on stage, in order to do these things you want to do. So it's like the kind of trope we see all the time, where the themes of training arcs and just getting down and doing the damn thing is inspiring, and it's cool, and it's something that we like to talk about and we want to talk about, and we're here to talk about. So it's it makes me really excited, and I think again you put it really nicely in that sense. And it's like we're trying to make some of those connections as well between the anime realm and the training realm, and it's cool.
It's cool. It's
yeah
cool. And like another one of those connections, one of those like kind of cliche trope things, right? Like there's like a mentor figure usually, right? Like Jiraiya
mm-hmm.
or Roshi early
Yep.
on or whatever. And and not to make us sound like it's not an egotistical like,
You need
oh,
some help, do you?
you know,
Come to me, Master
yeah,
Roshi.
come over here. I have all the secrets. I'll
Yeah.
teach you everything. It's not that, but it's just, you and I both have benefited from people who are just like a handful of steps further along the path than we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just a normal person, and that's why we've learned so much from them, is because they're Dr. Zordos, Dr. Helms, who are like our primary mentors, I think, a lot. Like they're brilliant scientists. More importantly, they're fantastic people, and they're real people, right? They're honest, they're genuine, and they go out of their way to help teach you these things that they've learned along the way, because they see that we are trying to walk a similar path. And I think that that like sort of passed down, like, I see you trying to come up behind me, let me reach my hand back and like help pull you forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's such a big anime thing, but it's such a big thing in our field, and that's part of why you and I have been able to get to where we are so far. And there's a lot further that we both want to go. Not that we haven't conquered the world by any means, but um
Yet.
yet, exactly. But
Just-
but yeah, man, I think that's just another one of those things that you see all the time, and it's almost a cliche, but it's so true and it's so necessary. And that's one of the growing up seeing those things, I think that's helpful, right? Because now it's in our subconscious, like, oh, that can happen, right? So let me be on the lookout for those opportunities to find a mentor, or then when you're in a position where we haven't figured everything out, but we know enough that we can help some people who are a few steps further down that path. Now we can pay it forward and help them out. And that's part of like we've been saying, why we want to do this. Just share the stuff that we've learned, share the stuff that we still don't know, and together collectively we'll figure all this stuff out.
Yeah, and like, hey, we'll make the mistakes for you, but we'll tell you, how we made them, what we would have done differently, what we have learned from them. Reflect on that, and then say like, maybe we'll try this route next time. And then, like I said, you people can learn from that too. You can learn from everyone, right? It doesn't matter PhD, no education, wherever. Like, there's nothing can hold you back from learning and growing and being open to learning, right? It all kind of starts within. So it's like we all have that innate ability to do so. We just gotta unlock it. So what we gotta kind of do is help you unlock that. Like you said, I reach out that hand. That's one of my favorite things of anime. I can't tell you how many times I've teared up when I just see a character just reach out their hand. I mean, I'm showing, for people just listening, I'm showing Gon right now from Hunter x Hunter reaching out his hand to Killua, and like that one especially really teared me up. And it's just seeing someone be like, hey, like, you're not alone. Like, you can do this. Let's do this is such a strong thing. It really is. And it's not done enough. And it's something that the world needs more of. So it's something that we want to try to provide. And it's, again, that's kind of what the training arc is about. Saying like, hey, reach out this hand. If you want to grab it, all means, go ahead. And then we got a team, we can help you out. We got a crew, creating a community that's like, we're all about reaching out the hand, right? I think there's like the saying that kind of goes about a candle really just, really burns brightest and can light other candles. So it's kind of that idea, right? We're just going to kind of illuminate the world through training and anime, right? It might sound again like, oh, it's just anime or just training, but hey, for some people, that's a lot, right? Training can be very important. Anime can be very important. And that's kind of what it is for us too. And it's another reason why we're kind of opening up that opportunity and reaching out that hand, because training can be a niche in a sense, right? As crazy as it might sound to some people who are like, yeah, training is my life. Some people never do it because maybe it's scary or maybe it's just very new. So we want to be able to, share that with people who are in it and saying like, hey, found some other nerds who like to lift weights and get, down and nerdy with the science, but also like to, talk about what happened in Demon Slayer. But also like, hey, like I watch anime, but I've never lifted weights, and those training arcs that they go through sounds really cool. And seeing, just, Baki on Netflix, like, whoa, that dude's huge. Like, can I get like that? Again, like, hey, we can again start opening some doors and creating some links and opportunities in that community again. So it's kind of what we're after.
Yep. And Colby, I have a slightly hot take for you that's going to lose the two people still watching this video.
50% loss on episode 1 already. Damn, that's
this latest season of Demon Slayer was not great. It was pretty mid. The last episode was phenomenal, but this season could have been just the last episode.
I want to say I agree, but I'm also concerned because people have been saying that the whole show was just a training arc. And aren't we the training arc? So, like, are you saying that we could just be one episode? This is the last episode?
We just killed our whole thing.
Well, thank you all for listening. It's been a great time. We'll see you never. Bye. I think I completely agree. I think it could be that way. I think I took that as an opportunity to find things to, not that I'm like cherry picking, right? Okay, I got to find something to like about it. But it's like, okay, they're obviously showing this to us. I put aside marketing and making money, all that stuff. Like, they just want more money. Put that aside for once. They're showing this us for a reason. They want us to see Tanjiro, or the main character, or the side characters that are important to the whole story, the stuff that they're going through, right? It might just seem like mindless training, or it might seem like a lot of discussion, or like, hey, we're going to see who can win a paper airplane contest. Yeah, but it's like...
I did like the airplanes. The airplanes
you see,
cool.
That was pretty cool. I like that too. Everyone's smiling. Yeah. That's the thing, right? In the midst of extremely hard training, how can we get these people to smile? So for me, it's like, okay, let me find these opportunities or find something positive to pull from that, because you always can, right? When hard times happen in life, you can pull something positive through that, right? You can be like, okay, yeah, this sucks, but now I'm more equipped. I have these skills. I now know that I really enjoy this, or now this is where my passion lies. And it's not a failure. It's just like an opportunity. And now I'm new. I'm a new me. Let's attack this new thing. It's like life is preparing you for what you need to be where you want to be, right? And it's just like, we might not see it in the time. We might not see it during this kind of lame, so to speak, training arc that we're maybe going through in before a big battle. But when it comes to that battle, I'm sure you'll remember some of the things that, kind of came across there and all that. So it's like, I agree. It can be kind of a hot take, but it's like,
I think it could have been condensed.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's
especially if they're doing the movies anyway to finish it.
Yeah,
this whole season could have been one movie. And just a shorter training arc at the beginning, do the cool stuff, have the big fight at the end, and then the Infinity Castle movies at the end, and we're good.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. No, I could see where you come from that for sure. It's just like they got to do their anime thing sometimes. It's like, okay, fine. Well, there's plenty of other stuff to watch. So I'll just watch that instead. I'm gonna catch up on my way too long of a to watch list. So
way too long. Endless.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, man. Well, I think we did it. I think this is a good intro thing. I think that the theme of what we're trying to do here, I think, has been communicated, right? And that's it, man. We're two normal dudes who just happen to be doing this science and coaching and training and maybe competing and all this stuff. And it's fun to share it and hopefully help some other people along the way and just make those connections, build that community, and see everything that we can bring together through our various life interests. I'm sure we'll talk about other stuff, right? I'm sure video games will come up, I'm sure books I'm a big book guy, right? Some of that stuff will come up, maybe TV stuff, I don't know, but there's lessons in everything. I think that's one of the underlying things here too, is like there's lessons in everything if you just look for it, if you're just open. And man, it's a beautiful thing. It's
It
a
really,
beautiful thing.
yeah, it really is, and yeah, it's just kind of moving forward. The episodes, it's going to be flexible. Like we talk about, and we will talk about a lot. Is having flexibility is important, right? Not being too rigid with your diet, your training, all these things, but just kind of life
Mhm.
in general too. So maybe we'll talk about something that we experience through prep, through life, through our own training. Maybe we talk about some recent research that comes out. Maybe we talk about some hot topics that are being discussed and give our viewpoints on it. Right? We're not trying to be too not many constraints here. Just being like, hey, this is interesting to us, so we'll discuss it, and hopefully some other people find something interesting. And again, maybe pull something that they can learn and take into their own daily lives and use. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. But
100%.
yeah,
Cool, man.
yeah. So where can they find you if we're trying to keep up to date with the stuff and yourself and your prep?
Yeah, my stuff's all on Instagram for right now. It's just jake.datadrivenstrength on there. And how about you, sir?
Yeah, Instagram. If you look right now today, I haven't posted in like 3 years, but I'm in my own training arc of learning to adapt and be better at social media, because I want to make sure that I'm able to provide something. And I was also just living life on the other side and doing PhD stuff and doing other things. But
You were a
yeah,
little busy, right?
yeah, just maybe, but
Yeah.
yeah, now especially it'd be good to use that. But yeah, Instagram will be find all the stuff is just Colby in a period Sousa is where you can find me. We'll probably put that in whatever links, notes, things you
Yeah.
can find. But you'll
Description,
see us.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But any
Well,
last words or anything else from you?
I don't think so, man.
No.
As we go, we'll have all this stuff up on
Mhm.
podcast apps, or we'll get it on YouTube or something maybe, so you can see our lovely faces and my incredibly boring background, and Colby's really cool one. So I gotta step my game up.
I'm exposing myself. Good thing all the
Yeah.
plushies are on these sides and you can't see them all.
Ah,
There's a lot of plushies, by the way.
yeah. Hey, plushies are cool.
I mean, look at
Um,
Hamtaro in the little Godzilla suit. That's
yeah,
I
look
showed
at
you that
that.
one earlier, but that's just the one. So it's so
Perfect.
cool. But
Perfect.
yeah,
So yeah,
thank you all
we'll get
so
that.
much. Yeah,
Thank you.
for tuning in, Jake. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your time. I'm so excited for this. Like we talked about, it's great. I'm excited. It's a lot that we can learn, a lot that we can share, and it's gonna be fun.
It'll be fun, man. I'm here for
Yeah,
it.
sounds good. Well, yeah, thank you all for listening, and then we'll see you at the next one.
Peace.